Hello friends. While we are young, we believe that studying in another city and away from our parents gives us complete freedom. And, of course, the opportunity to manage your time and choose your circle of friends, and especially romantic. At first glance it looks like living in a hostel, where there are always a lot of friends and fun. However, it is not always as rosy as you imagine, and it was precisely with a similar problem that a resident of a small Chinese town faced. When the girl entered the university, she knew that a new life was beginning for her. But she couldn't really imagine. What will she have to face after starting her studies? She was given a small room in a hostel, and the girl was glad that 2 senior students would also live with her. But soon she realized that she could not continue like this, but the whole point is that closer by the night, a noisy group of guys always gathered in the room. They were older and the girl could not tell them anything. And therefore every evening the fun began, and she simply could not fall asleep until the morning, staring at the ceiling. Perhaps such a scenario would suit someone, but she came to the city to study, since this was the only chance to escape from the outback, and let her parents down. She could not, and therefore, when it became very difficult to study, she asked the commandant to move her to another room. But, as it turned out, there were no more empty seats. She tearfully asked to be offered at least something, because she no longer had the strength to learn to live in such a schedule, and literally a few days later the curators of the hostel decided to help. However, she immediately warned that the option is far from the best. In general, it was possible to move into a separate room, but it had been empty for several years, because it required internal repairs, and if the girl agrees to this, then count her keys when you see your future living space, where she will have to live for the next 5 years. The student was upset. However, there was no other option, and the prospect of living alone impressed her, looking at the wretched room. The girl agreed, realizing that she would have to make an effort in order to make a beautiful apartment out of this. At the time of her settlement in the room, she had long been overgrown with dirt and debris. At the same time, all the walls were painted with strange strokes and inscriptions. Everything looked as if drug addicts in a fit of rage were displaying their art here. Plus everything. Raw stains on the ceiling and walls indicated that the modest dwelling had been flooded more than once. This caused mold to grow on the walls, which grew around the entire perimeter, but that was not all. The furniture looked like it had been driven over by an excavator yesterday, but the sockets had a life of their own. Well, there was nowhere to go. And therefore our heroine pulled herself together and drew on paper the future changes to her room, after which she set to work. First of all, she went to the hardware store for tools and materials, and when everything was ready, from the walls flew into the garbage covered with mold. Wallpaper all their traces. She manually baptized from the walls and ceiling, after which the entrance went to the primer and putty. It took her a few days after school to bring the room into a divine form. But when everything was ready, entrance went inexpensive white paint. Of course, after the manipulations of the room, it immediately visually expanded further to ennoble the peeling cabinets, the door and the bedside table. The girl pasted them over, as best she could with the help of a cheap light film. It didn't work out perfectly everywhere. But the room sparkled with completely new colors, having a bright head, and also with the help of videos on social networks. The girl even unscrewed the remnants of the sockets on her own and replaced them with new ones. Instead of a light bulb proudly hanging on the wire to the ceiling, she got a modern ceiling lamp, and in order not to see the window with the grate, albeit repainted, the girl closed it with a light curtain. Further, the walls were decorated with a decorative grid, on which the girl placed various photographs. Well, the bed was changed with new decorated pillows and bedding. The finishing touch was the purchased small light rug and dressing table decoration, plus she got it. New small desktop and simple but cute table. It took her almost 2 weeks to do all this, but she did not regret anything because she had lived in this place for 5 whole years. Even the commandant of the hostel, when she saw the result, did not believe it, saying only that the girls had golden hands. The student shared these photos on the social network, and what is interesting, it turned out that nothing like this had ever been done before. It was the first time she held a roller in her hands, and she certainly never made repairs. But, as you can see, she managed to start an independent life. It is worth learning how to create something with your own hands, and if a person knows how to work and improve everything around, then he will always solve any problem and turn around. The situation is in your favor, and how pleasant it is to be proud, albeit small, but already of your achievements. Friends, what do you think of the girl's decisions and the transformation of her room? Be sure to write your opinion in the comments. But for today, perhaps it's all to rate the video if you liked it.